Back to Hannity. All right, we have some news to report tonight regarding the makeup of the U.S. Congress. According to the very latest generic ballot survey conducted by the New York Times and CBS News, if the election were held today, 42% of those polled say they would back Republicans, 39% say they would back Democrats. So, does this mean the GOP will seize control of the U.S. Senate? Here to analyze those numbers and much more from the University of Virginia, Center for Politics, Larry Sabato is back with us. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
I'm fine. How are you, Sean?
Well, I read these polls. Can you read a lot into it? Because they're kind of similar to most of the polls we see coming out about this time. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's significant. Obviously, it's February, and I assume that's why you have some hesitation about it. And I agree, really, it's around Labor Day that these things begin to solidify. But the early indications are when you look at the generic ballot, and you mentioned +3 Republican, and that's been generally where this has been for a while, that means Republicans will actually pick up seats in the House. They won't lose net seats, and Democrats need to carry an additional 17 seats to take over the House. So I think it means Republicans will gain some seats, maybe in the single digits in the House. In the Senate, it means they're right around the six seats that they need to take control. If it's a +3 generic ballot in September, I think Republicans will get the 6 seats that they need to take control. If it goes a little bit higher, it'll be more than 6 seats. If it goes down to a tie, Republicans will still pick up seats, but they may only get 3 or 4.
Where are you looking at the states most likely? I mean, we have red state Democrats, we have Arkansas, we have Alaska, we have North Carolina, we have Louisiana. What states do you think are most vulnerable for the Democrats, for the Senate?
Well, Sean, you have 2 automatic pickups, really, for the Republicans in West Virginia, Jay Rockefeller's seat turning over to a Republican, and South Dakota, where Tim Johnson's Democratic seat will turn over to Republicans. Pretty good chance in Montana, pretty good chance in Alaska for those 2 to switch to the Republicans. Then I think you go to Arkansas. If there's any incumbent who's really, really vulnerable, it would be Democrat Mark Pryor, the incumbent senator in Arkansas. And Louisiana, North Carolina. Mary Landrieu and Kay Hagan are also very vulnerable. That's the current group. But, you know, I've noticed the field is expanding. The battleground is expanding. Yesterday, Congressman Cory Gardner in Colorado surprised everybody by deciding to challenge Senator Mark Udall. Well, suddenly, Colorado's on the map of closely contested Senate races.
Yeah, what about Minnesota?
Well, I doubt it. It would have to be a big Republican wave. It's always possible. We haven't gotten to September yet, but it would have to be a big Republican wave, I think, for Franken to lose, Al Franken to lose.
All right. 2/3 of independents now express some level of disappointment in the president. 63% of Americans say that the country is on the wrong track. And I think the one number in this poll that really stuck out in my mind was 8 in 10 Americans, that's 80%, are dissatisfied or angry with the way things are going in Washington. To what extent do you think that reflects the president and his policies?
Oh, that's a big piece of it. There's a high correlation between people's view of where the country's going and how satisfied they are personally and generally with the way the country's going and the way they view the presidency. And the way this plays into the midterm is very simple. In a presidential election, you've got to turn out over 70% of the voters. In a midterm congressional election like we have this November, the turnout plummets to about 40%. So the key question is always, who turns out? Who's most excited? Who's most motivated to vote in a midterm election? So far, we're seeing that Republicans are more motivated than Democrats. And by the way, Sean, the Democrats realize that. That's why they're pushing a minimum wage, income inequality. They're trying to stir the base to get them as excited as the Republican base already is because of Obamacare and other things.
All right, Larry, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.